Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Steve Phillips, who's the managing partner of CCG CPAs. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's great talking to you.
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you because it's always neat to hear people's perspectives from different, life experiences, career experiences. And I know that you are not just a CPA. You get into tax planning and retirement plans and financial planning. So we want to hear that hybrid approach that you would take with your clients. But let's dive in first to a little bit of your story and background. And how did you get into the industry in the first place?
So I like to joke, it found me. So I was brought up in a bunch of family of CPAs. In my family, we were either CPAs or engineers, and by God, I was going to be different. Well, after going to college, getting an undergrad degree in finance from GW, and struggling in the early 90s to find a job, I decided I was a CPA. Then in 2000, I worked at big public accounting firms, small public accounting firms, the biggest in the country. And then in 2008, the industry found me in Southwest Florida. If those of you who are mature enough to remember the good times of 08, 09, the real estate market kind of fell apart, right?
Good times in air quotes.
Yeah, good times in air quotes. Sorry, this is audio, so I can't do air quotes, right? So it found me. I was given an opportunity from one of my friends. I was looking for a job because I was the controller of a company and then worked in home building I was at Lennar, which was one of the big builders. In my region, we went from like 3,000 employees at that time to 100, and I wasn't one of the 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it was obscene, ridiculously brutal, but like every good challenge, it was an opportunity for me.
Yeah.
So in 2008, 2009, I was looking for something to do, and one of my friends said, "Why don't you try this?" And I said, you know what? I've always, having an undergraduate degree in finance, having a very strong tax and accounting background, I always wanted to help people. Because when I started my practice, one of the things I always said is the first time around when I was at the other firms, most accountants are reactive. For most of the year, from April up until September, October 15th, we're still filing returns from the prior years. There's not much I can do, right? Die's cast. I can't help you with your taxes. I can't help you. Maybe I can help with your finance going forward, but Uncle Sam is going to get the check. It's just a question of how do we minimize it? It's not a question whether we can restructure it. So from my strategy standpoint was I got into it because I wanted to help my clients do better. Because there's great advisors out there, but listen, I also saw a lot of bad ones.
Isn't it true that you take an approach on tax planning versus, just tax prep? But isn't it true that that kind of becomes a fulcrum of from there, once you get that dialed in well, and we've kind of plugged up as much of the holes as possible in leakage and taxes, because you can never avoid all taxes. You can just mitigate. But from there, that becomes like opening up Pandora's box to see what else that person or business owner has that could be some opportunities, right?
Correct. So a lot of it, absolutely. So much of what I do is trying to make sure they're paying less taxes today, tomorrow, and forever. Because what I find out is, especially business owners, like the bulk of my clientele are small business owners. One, I'm trying to mitigate their tax liability, but also make sure they save for the future because most of them pile most of their business money back into their business and they have no tax strategy for when they retire. They just all think they're going to sell their business be the next Google, Microsoft, that they're going to make billions. Well, the reality of it is some do. I hope all of my clients do, but most, have a great life. They make a ton of money. They accumulate assets. And they're just trying to figure out how to mitigate those tax strategies and maximize their wealth throughout their life.
Yeah. What are some of the typical things you see when a business owner comes to you and they think they're just coming to you for, oh, help me with my taxes, and you start uncovering, going, hey, if I were just a tax preparer, I'd fill in the blanks and send you along your way. But I'm noticing some things here. What are some of those things you're noticing that could be opportunities for the business owner?
So one, I don't think they're maximizing their retirement plans or they're
Mm,
not structuring it correctly. I think that's number one. Two, listen, none of them are very financially organized. That's the easy one. You know, Mike, I'm assuming you got a junk drawer somewhere, right?
yeah, we all do.
Right? We all throw crap in a drawer at home. So it's the same thing. What we find out is people just do stuff along the way with no coordination, with no tax structure coordination,
Hmm.
no organization through there. So a lot of times it's just putting the pieces together to say, how do we make this puzzle work better for you? So what I find a lot of times is there's just, my plumbers, my electricians, they've never been taught how to run the business.
Yep.
Like even a lot of CPAs, I'll be honest with you, we're not taught to run the business. It's a learned behavior. The advantage I have is I'm talking to 6 to 7 business owners a day, learning their mistakes, their
Yeah.
challenges. What I find out is, like I said, most business owners, um, they're very good plumbers, doctors. They don't know much about business. You know, the perfect example is one. I have a friend who was a cardiologist years ago, and he spent something like 15 years in school. Take a guess how many business classes that person had.
Probably one class in one section of a class, not even a whole class, I'll bet.
Not even that.
Yeah.
And he
Wow.
was buying into a multi-million-dollar cardiology practice.
Wow.
So, listen, I have a master's degree in accounting, undergraduate in finance. I'm a licensed CPA. I'm Series 766 licensed. I've done all that planning. And I end up talking to the School of Hard Knocks, where I'm talking to 6 to 7 business owners a day. They just don't have that experiential knowledge. They don't
Right.
have the business knowledge, let alone the experiential knowledge.
Do you find that, that was one of the mistakes you mentioned, is like they don't maximize retirement? And I want to, cover a few more, but where does the line come into where it's, you got the financial moves that can be made, but also you might need to have like a business coach, consultant, operational kind of non-financial person coming in going, hey,
Yeah.
let's help some of the top line revenue, right? As well.
It-
We're plugging up some holes in the expenses and taxes, but let's help the business grow at the same time. What do you see there?
so what a lot of times I find out is that sometimes I'm the psychiatrist, the
Yep.
psychologist, and the financial coach. And sometimes I manage their money, sometimes I don't. But in many ways, I try to be the best strategist.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get coaching. I personally get coaching from other coaches. I think everybody should have some sort of coach, whether it's marketing, you know, um, you can't do it all yourself,
Yeah.
right? It is, you are limiting yourself if you do it all yourself. And in my best relationship with my best clients, I do what I do well. I do strategy and manage finances and taxes. They do very well at building buildings.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Do
if
you work in specific niches and industries solely or as a focus, or do you find that most of your clients come from many different industries?
it's many different industries. So listen, I have a decent amount in construction, real estate, restaurants, and that's a more of a function of where I live. But
Yeah.
there's not, my philosophy has always been if somebody wants to help and take the advice and, has good intentions, I'll help anybody.
Yep. So what are some of the other, maybe not mistakes, but things that are overlooked when you're meeting with a business owner for the first time that they've been doing that they either shouldn't be, or there's an opportunity that you could be doing this and they just didn't even know about it?
So I think, that's a great question. So I think a lot of it is savings.
Hmm.
In the business owner marketplace, they're not given any direction whatsoever where to put money or just put money away. Think about it. If you're an employee at a Fortune 500 company, you've got your 401k, you got your health insurance, you've got all of that. Nobody's coaching them to make sure they do all of that for themselves and their employees,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of regulations in a lot of states where they're forcing people to put 401ks. I don't know if that's the right thing for them, but it might be.
Yep.
Everybody's a little different. Everybody comes to the table with different fact patterns and different information and different goals. Most of my desire and help with clients is, can I get them to where they want to with goals?
Yep.
I just got off the phone with a client an hour ago. They have two elderly parents. They're real estate investors. One is in memory care, the other one they're worried about it. So they're trying to manage those relationships and the financial burden they carry at the same time to manage their real estate practice and their parents' trusts or assets to maximize their retirement. So that's a different case than somebody who's a up and coming plumber or HVAC company, and I'm using typical trades, who is trying to figure out how to hire their first
Yep.
employee and put it in the right structure in place so that they can make sure they grow. Um, I don't know
You
if I
bring up
answered your question, but
you totally did, and you brought up a new point, which is sometimes if you are not staying up with the times and regulations and codes and things on the tax side, you can either make a misstep or not take advantage of an opportunity. But you brought up something with memory care, long-term care, and from your putting your financial advisor hat on, you probably know that a large percentage of people, upwards of 70% of all people, will need some type of long-term care, whether it's the full-on memory care or, assisted living. What are you seeing your clients doing that scenario? Are they prepared, or when that comes up, it's like, wow, we better dip into our retirement account, and now that derails what we were hoping to do?
so you're right. So I think there's two sides to that. One, I think nobody's ever truly prepared.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, to get blunt, when I started in the business 17 years ago, the first conversations I had was with both of my in-laws and my parents. Please make sure you have some long-term care, whether you have
Yep.
the assets or the insurance, or at least let's talk about a long-term care plan for you. Like, because I can tell you I don't want you living in with me.
Yeah.
Right.
It won't be
Like,
good for either one of us.
it's not good I love you dearly, but
Yep. But
I have my own life plans. And what I find out is that most people just don't have that plan, irrespective of the assets. So, and as much as you can have those conversations early on, it's better. For the simple reason, if you know what the goal is, it's easier to make the money work accordingly.
yep.
But I'm 53 years old. I'm dealing with the same challenges. I have two, I don't think of them as elderly, but mature,
Yeah.
right? My parents are in their 80s. My in-laws are in their 80s. And though in great health, they need somebody to keep an eye on them, right? And as they get older, it may not be that they need memory care or something exotic as that. They may need to be in independent living where they have somebody reachable, but it creates a huge family burden. The finances, honestly, I believe the finances are the easy part. I think the bigger challenge is what that care looks like, because it could be all of a sudden, and I like to tell this story, think of it this way. You're in your 50s, all of a sudden you're really excited. You studied, you worked really hard, you put all the money in college planning. Your kids are going to grade school, you've got that covered. Your retirement's in decent shape, and all of a sudden you're partying because you've dropped your kids off to college. And all of a
Mm.
sudden you close that door and there's a knock on the door. Now your parents are moving in. And
Yikes.
that's
Yeah.
a big challenge emotionally and financially to manage. It's like, I hate to say it's easy to manage the finances, that's a number. But what I see for most people is at least having a strategy that's tax efficient, that's financially, you've thought about that, because it's going to affect your life, irrespective. And maybe that's what makes me a lousy financial advisor, but I also think you got to take care of the emotional side, because what it does, I'll speak for myself running a business. If my parents moved into me, I'm not as good an accountant for my clients, which
Yeah.
will eventually affect my income. And most of
Yeah.
my clients are business owners, or all of a sudden I'm in my, if you're in your 50s, you're in the high wage earning years. This is an opportunity where you're pulling away your time and energy to something that's more important, but will affect your income.
Yep. 100%. So, what are some other things that you're seeing when a business owner comes to you that maybe even, let's think of this. What's a big mistake that you're looking for? Like, ooh, I see this over and over again. This is being done. Here it is once again, and let's address this. And then once you fix that, what does that do for the business owner?
So I think
Maybe a blind spot.
I think the biggest challenge is exit strategies, right?
Oh yeah,
From a long-term perspective, right? I think, well, listen, there's basic block tackling. Hey, do you have good books? Do you have good finances? Do you have good financial organization? But I think the big macro level one is exit strategy, meaning you've got to be pivoting and fluid. I've had over the last 3 years, I've had more clients that I don't think ever planned to sell the business, but they got offered big checks
yeah,
and or they think they're going to turn it over to their kids and the kids want nothing to do with it, or they've never done any retirement planning beyond the business.
yeah,
Like I said, it goes back to that concept. So, or what they'll come to me and say, I can't get rid of this. I'm 70. What do I do? I think it's worth 300 or $3 million, whatever number. And it's a third of what it's worth.
mm,
How do it's, we used to joke, you never put somebody in your back seat if you don't know how, you would never put your kids in the back seat if you didn't know how to get them out of the car, right?
yeah,
We see people get into business all the time, but they have no idea what their exit strategy is. And there's a half dozen strategies on that.
yep,
And now they're doing it on the back end and they're losing a business that's deteriorating. Or what I'll see the opposite is they think they're going to sell it and sell it and sell it and they never sell it, so it dies on the vine.
yeah.
You
Wow.
know, it's so especially in the business owner marketplace from a strategy and a finance standpoint, where that is their biggest asset in their life, right? They're not managing as just another investable asset.
I think also there's a point too that if you're talking to someone about retirement and you ask, hey, what does retirement look like to you? And you're going to get 10 different answers from 10 different people because everyone has not many people are going to say, I want to retire in Florida and play golf all day long. Not many people will do that. They'll get bored and all of that. Same with what you're mentioning about exit planning. I feel like you need to have that vision of, when I'm done punching the clock in my business that I've built for 30 or 40 years, what is my life? What do I want my life to look like? And you could get so bored to tears that you don't want to sell and give me that big check. So if that's the case, we need to put a different plan into place. So where does it come in that you help them paint the picture of what the end
So
game looks like?
yeah, so a lot of it is the conversations of it seems like the economy's a little looser, little lighter than it was a couple years ago, and at least down here in Florida, we had some boom years, and it's still good. It's just not as good. So what I
Hmm.
find out is one, what is that next step in your life is? Because most entrepreneurs, and I'll speak for myself and everybody I talk to, retirement is not playing golf 5 days a week. Like
Yep.
I'm blessed. I live in Florida. I could play golf in off season literally 4 days a week, but I don't. I don't make
Yeah.
time for it.
Wow.
Right? Wish I played more, but I don't play as much. Second of all, what is your purpose?
Yeah.
Right? For most of my business owner clients and my clients, the so much of that is their purpose is that business. So if you're going to give that purpose on it, and in Florida we joke, and this is true in a lot of parts of the country, it's 5 o'clock someday every day. You will find
Yep.
somebody, and your health will go down if you don't have a purpose to get up in life.
Yeah.
So the best business owner clients that I've worked with, we've planned that. We fixed the financial problem because listen, most business owners who are successful, they can fix the financial. They just need some strategies and help to make that execute. Then it
Yeah.
becomes they get to choose what they want to do with the business. That's a lot easier conversation than having to sell it or do a large financial exit,
Yep.
right?
And you might even walk them through that and go, I would be so bored to tears if I did nothing that I still want to have my hand in the pot. So why don't I sell this percentage of the business to
Correct.
employees, family, someone else, and I'll stay on and work 1 day a week or something like that. It doesn't have to always be give me a big check and I'm walking out.
No, I mean, I think because of the way the world is and where finances have changed over the last 30 years, there's not a lot of big pensions anymore from the big Fortune 500 companies. There's not a lot of that. You rarely see people taking the gold watch and being out after 40 years.
Yep.
It just, you know, I think it's the jungle gym of the corporate world has changed all of that. So you see more entrepreneurs, which are typically what we see in business. They're not stopping. They're never stopping. They're just pivoting. So
Yep.
a lot of it becomes, but what I've seen too many times over the years is also those that never pivot, they ride the horse until it dies. And that's okay
Yeah.
if that's what your plan is.
That's it's kind of, let's use that statement, riding the horse till it's, actually too late, oh, I ought to sell this stock. I ought to sell this position. I ought to change this. I'm going to wait because there's a little bit more, and then it's not. And so it's like what I think it's attributed to Warren Buffett. Like, you can never go broke taking a profit. And always make a profit. Rule number 2, refer back to rule number 1. So, you've got to know that end, and like how Stephen Covey taught in his books, begin with the end in mind. And whether it's retirement or your business or your exit, know what that looks like and then start working backwards from there. And that might mean you need to have a great financial strategy, a great tax strategy, a great legacy strategy, because it's a whole lot more than getting to retirement. You got to get through retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this story. You know where most people die climbing Mount Everest?
On the way down. Yep.
You got it.
I mean, literally, I've heard that as a analogy to, your financial planning. But in real life, if you're climbing Mount Everest, more people die on the way down because they get careless. They think everything's good. Well, now on their, accumulation phase of building their retirement nest egg, that's all fine and good. I know how to do that. But then the decumulation phase, that's where people start having some missteps. And that's where it gets really important to have someone like yourself look at it.
Absolutely. And, I think, I'll kind of add to the Warren Buffett. Nobody goes broke taking profits.
Yeah.
Listen, nobody's gone broke by paying taxes, because if you're paying taxes, you've made money. Now that said, you don't want to pay too much.
Right. That's a great point. Right.
I laugh all the time. Nobody in my office, and I hope somebody comes in. Nobody, R or D or independent, nobody has ever come into my office and said, damn it, I just paid too little in taxes.
Yep. Nope.
It's the American way, right?
Yep.
How do we avoid taxes?
No one ever.
Yes.
That's a great point. Well, I tell you what, this has been really interesting, and I know that you would concur with this point. None of these sectors of your business are silos. You can't just go, I'm going to handle the tax side of things and make sure that's all polished up, and then neglect the other. So they all work together. It's a holistic approach. You need someone that can look at the full field as a coach, quarterback, whatever you want to think of it as, and go, we need to make sure this piece is not going to interfere with that piece. So that's the approach that you're taking with having all of these areas of expertise.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think I have a very unique perspective as a financial advisor, planner, and as a CPA, because, there's a lot of good money managers. They look at your money. I typically try to strategize across it. Me as a firm, do we manage a lot of assets? Absolutely. Do we do a lot of tax returns? Absolutely. Like I said, my target market is typically business owners, because they truly do need so much help.
Yep, that's true. Well, I tell you, if there's a business owner listening to this going, hey, maybe take a 30,000 foot view at my business. Where are some leakages? Where are some things I can plug up and shore up? What's the best way they can learn more and then connect with you?
Yep, I would love to help anybody that I can.
What's the website and best contact info?
Absolutely. www.ccgcpas.com. My name is Steve Phillips. Feel free to reach out to me on the website.
Steve, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Pleasure's mine.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.